are down back by the elevator. If you need an alternative to stairs, there's a ramp at the back of the room that you can use to bring you down to this area. This is sponsored by Col Ann Center for Nonviolent Education and Action, the philosophy department, the sociology department, and women's studies here at UH. Can I ask you to turn off your cell phones or put them on vibrate? Let's see. Just to go over what's going to happen tonight, Jim Albertini will introduce our guest, as I said, who will talk about this issue for about 60 minutes. We should have ample time for comments and questions. I'll ask you to please hold them until that time. And we'll have this discussion facilitated by Dr. Tim Freeman of the philosophy department. So, without further ado, I'd like to introduce Jim Albertini, who will be introducing our guest speaker for tonight.
Well, I first want to really thank Marilyn Brown and Tim Freeman for really opening the doors to make this evening possible. Not only this evening, but anybody who passed the library tonight today from 11 to 1 saw a replica of a Reaper drone that we had on display there. So that was also made possible through Marilyn. And it's an important kind of partnership between the community and the university to have a session like this. Before I introduce our speaker, though, a few housekeeping points myself, really recruiting points. I want to appeal to all of you to join, if possible, the weekly Peace Vigil at the downtown Hilo Post Office tomorrow, 3:30 to 5, every Friday. Tomorrow is the 591st consecutive week. And each week we do a new meeting. If we can end the wars, we can stop the Peace Vigil. But tomorrow's leaflet is on the off-the-wall protest set for Saturday. That's the second point. That here we are today is the 120th anniversary of the commemoration of the overthrow of Hawaii. The military force was used to overthrow the government of Hawaii. So Saturday we're having this protest to protest the continued bombing of Hawaii and the use of drones up there, all kinds of drones that are trained. And so I urge you to pick up a flyer if you haven't already seen one of these out this protest. As you leave, it's on Jackie's table there. Help recruit some others. Join this protest on Saturday. And a third thing is on every one of our flyers, and every one of these leaflets, is the Maluaina webpage. And if you go to the webpage, there's a place to sign up for peace alerts, actions. You can get the weekly leaflet emailed to you every week. So please, I urge you to sign up on the webpage. So the vigil, the protest, Saturday at Guacamole, and the webpage. Now, introduce our speaker. Those who've seen the long version of this event read Ann Wright's background. It's really amazing to me. I was going to go through it, but I don't want to elaborate again for those of you who read it. But Ann is a lawyer by training, a law degree, and she has 2 master's degrees. She was 29 years in the Army as a colonel, 16 years in the State Department as a diplomat. And the most remarkable thing to me is the stance of principle she took on the eve of the Iraq invasion, when she resigned her post in protest of that invasion. There are very few people that have the courage of the convictions to stand up. And then not only that, but for the last several years now, she's been involved in nonviolent direct action, peace organizing all around the world. And her voice just adds credibility to the message of the United States killing machine, what it's doing today. So I think we're very fortunate to have her here, and I'm honored that she's part of the peace movement here, and to know that she's gone to jail to stand on the principles. So please welcome our friend Ann Wright.
Very much, Jim, and thank you, Marilyn and Tim, for arranging for us to have this evening. And I want to thank Jim in particular. I mean, he's been, how about 591 weeks of having a vigil. a vigil for peace. And also, since you brought up jail, might as well just elaborate on that a little bit. I've been in jail just a few different times, peaceful nonviolent protest of administration policies under first the Bush administration and now under the Obama administration. I'm an equal opportunity critic of all of them, just like Jim. And at dinner tonight, someone had mentioned that they saw in the newspaper that 25 years ago was when Jim Albertini went into federal prison for having jumped in front of a ship, a nuclear-powered ship coming into the town of Hilo, and he went to jail for how long?
It was a 3-year sentence. I was kicked out after a little more than a year.
Well, I am very new comparatively to this issue of challenging our government's policies. As Jim mentioned, I've been in the U.S. military for 29 years. I retired as a colonel. I was a U.S. diplomat for 16 years. I served in Nicaragua, Grenada, Somalia, Uzbekistan, Kyrgyzstan, Sierra Leone, Micronesia. I helped reopen the U.S. Embassy in Kabul, Afghanistan in December 2001. And then I was in Mongolia as a deputy ambassador when I resigned in March of 2003 in opposition to Bush's war on Iraq. Many of those years that I was in the government, many of you all were out with Jim protesting many of the policies that I was involved in. So I'm a new person in a way to this challenging. I was a part of the system for a long period of time. It didn't necessarily mean that I agreed with every policy of the 8 different presidential administrations that I worked under, starting with the Johnson administration during the Vietnam War. That's when I joined the military, during the Vietnam War. And if you think of all of the presidents, the 8 presidents of, let's see, Johnson, Nixon, Ford, Reagan, Carter.
Left out the best one, Carter.
Carter, and then Reagan, then Bush 1, then Clinton, then Bush 2, and now Obama. But I wasn't in that way. But if you think of all of the policies of those various administrations, those of you all who were alive during some of them, because we do have, thank God there's some students here that weren't alive during all of those, but those of you all who were alive through most of those, how many of you all were out on the streets protesting something that all those administrations did?
Yeah.
And those of you all who have been, who weren't alive through all 8 of them, I mean, has everybody here had some bone to pick with some administration over something? I would think so. And it's not all going to be the same ones, the same issues that you're concerned about. But I think one of the things tonight that we want to remember is that it's our right and really our responsibility to challenge our government when we think there are programs or policies that are not good, that are really harming us as citizens. And if we think that something's illegal, unlawful, that our own government is doing something that's wrong, criminally wrong, violating either our own national laws or international laws, that we have the right and the duty and the responsibility to speak up. So that's why I resigned in 2003. And it wasn't that there hadn't been plenty of other things the government had been doing before that were wrong. I, like so many people that have been in the government, I didn't resign over things. I mean, for the Iraq War, there were only 3 people in the entire federal government that resigned over the Iraq War. And yet there were lots of people in the government and millions outside the government that were totally opposed to that war. I mean, how many of y'all were marching in opposition to the U.S. invasion and occupation of Iraq? I mean, it was the largest marches in the history of the world. But now that I'm out of the government, I can speak my mind freely, then that's where I started being a little more active and challenging government policies of war, lot of people are working on is the one we're going to talk about tonight, this issue of drones, of unmanned aerial vehicles. Unmanned aerial vehicles, okay, nobody's sitting in them, nobody's guiding them. In the plane, they're being guided from afar. The U.S. government says these are really good planes, particularly for the military, because you don't have to have a military person in them and possibly being shot down, killed in them, or shot down and captured. That they really protect our own military forces. And that is one, that's why they say we need to be using them. On the other side of it, if, like any military weapon system, if it's being used in violation of international law, then we have the responsibility to challenge it, even if it may be saving American lives. But are we killing others in violation of international law by using them? And that's really what we're talking about. There are two parts to this as far as the military is concerned, or the U.S. government is concerned. We have drones that are being used, weaponized drones, like this one right up here. You can see it firing off. Here's a Reaper drone firing Hellfire missiles. Boy, aren't these names something? Reaper, Predator, these are the names of the two main weapon systems that we have that are U.S., primarily used by the U.S. military. These are Hellfire missiles that can blow up buildings. They are big missiles. The Predator drone is not just a little tiny drone like this. This is the wingspan of a 727. These are what big wingspans. They are much less expensive than F-15s, F-16s, our fighter jets, our bombers. And that's another reason why the military likes to use them. The U.S. government likes to use them. They're a little bit cheaper than these other weapon systems. But when you have these types of things that are being used, let's see, in wars, okay, how many wars do we have declared right now?
5.
Zero. Three.
Add
Well, let's
Molly
see,
to
we
the
had,
list.
the U.S. Congress finally authorized, let's see, the war in Afghanistan, the war in Iraq. That one, the war in Iraq is finished, supposedly. We do have a declared war in Afghanistan, so the U.S. military says, well, declared war, we can use any weapon system that's not outlawed by international law. Although we do sometimes use weapon systems that are outlawed by international law, like cluster bombs, and let's see, what else? What else do we use? Landmines. We ever put landmines down? There are now international laws against using them, but the United States of America is not a signatory to those conventions. The drone, is there a law against using a drone in a declared war? Anybody know? Actually, our government says no. I mean, we've declared war in Afghanistan, so we can essentially use anything we want to on those Afghans. So we're at war with the people of Afghanistan. Is that right? No. Who are we at war with? Al-Qaeda? Let's see, Al-Qaeda. Now, how many Al-Qaeda people does our military, our intelligence agencies say are in Afghanistan at any one time?
200.
Less than 50.
Less than 50, usually 5. Let's see, but there's a pesky group called Taliban. Now, were we at war? That was the declared war on Taliban? No. It was the war on terror was Al-Qaeda, but at the same time, let's just go out and take out this group called the Taliban that allowed Al-Qaeda to use Afghan territory. So it's now 15,000 is what our intelligence agencies say are the number of Taliban. If every person who's declared loyalty toward the Taliban digs up their weapons and brings them out all on the same day. Let's see, how many U.S. soldiers do we have in Afghanistan now? down from 120,000 to about 70,000 right now. 40,000 NATO troops, 80,000 U.S. contractors. We now have more contractors in Afghanistan than we have U.S. military. Then we have, our mission really now is training the Afghan military and national police up to 300,000. So if you total all those numbers up, you get about 500,000 people in Afghanistan that are challenging 15,050 people, the Taliban and Al-Qaeda. And that's why we have to use drones on them. Drones, these unmanned aerial vehicles. Let's see some more of these this week. Here's the Predator Wingspan 55B. Here are the Hellfire missiles, each 100 pounds in weight, 5 feet long. Here's what they do. They're pretty, they carry a lot of firepower with them. They can blow up a lot of things here. But not only are we using drones in Afghanistan, where we have in Afghanistan, we don't really have a total figure of how many drone strikes have been made. Just in the last 4 years, though, there have been 1,273 drone strikes. And as you get this piece of paper, it's going to have listed on it the numbers of drone strikes in both Afghanistan and then Pakistan, Yemen, and Somalia. 1,273 drone strikes in Afghanistan, but we don't know how many people have been killed because nobody's really keeping track of it. Isn't that an interesting thing? We don't keep track of how many people we say we killed. But that's in the declared war. What about the undeclared wars that we're in, where the United States is using this weapon system in an undeclared war? How about in Pakistan? Now we have declared war on Pakistan? No. So why are we now having drone strikes in Pakistan? And are they legal? And who is doing them? Who's firing the weapons? The CIA. Oh goodness, that's it. What does CIA stand for? Central Military Agency, right? CIA. Central Intelligence Agency. Now, how did an intelligence agency get involved in firing off military weaponry? See, this is really where we're getting into a dilemma now, where our country is, in the eyes of most everybody in the world, with the exception of like the Brits, is being looked at as a violator of international law. That we are firing these missiles in Pakistan, and this on that one it says that there have been, let's see, 297 drone strikes. Well, if you actually update it now with what you see here, there have actually been 304 drone strikes. And just this year, there have already been 7 drone strikes. In 2013, with 40 people killed in just this year alone. The Obama administration has been using the drone strikes as its kind of signature weapon system. President Obama himself is authorizing these strikes. He has a kill list that every Tuesday he makes a determination on what names that have been provided to him by U.S. intelligence agencies, primarily the CIA, but with input from the national security agencies and others, of which person who's on this list is going to be killed by the United States. And he looks at what the description is that the intelligence agencies have given him about that person, what they have done to deserve to assassinated, to be executed. So we have a situation now where our President of the United States has now become the prosecutor, the judge, the jury, and essentially the executioner of how many people? Well, the estimates, we have firmer estimates on the number of people killed in Pakistan, because there are two investigative organizations that have been working in Pakistan to get this information. And the statistics are anywhere from 2,600 to 3,200 people have been killed by these drone strikes. Not that the President of the United States authorized a by name for each one of those people, but he does have a list of by names people that he uses every week, and he makes a determination on who the CIA is going to be going after. And you know, the issue of well, our military is very well, how many of y'all been in the military before? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I mean, our military says we try very hard to limit the casualties, that we are very precise in what we do, that we are very accurate in our missile systems and firing systems are very accurate. But have any of you all who've been in the military ever been around some of the things that weren't quite so inaccurate and didn't quite do what they were supposed to do, these weapon systems? And in fact, that's what's happening with these drones, that the operators of the drones, who are not necessarily sitting even in the country where the drone strikes are taking place. That's another interesting phenomena about all these drones, is that for the military, the majority of the drones, like 99% of the drones that are operated in Afghanistan, which are operated by the U.S. Air Force, the operators, the people that manually fly those things, are not even in Afghanistan. They're back in the United States. They're back in places like Creech Air Force Base, just outside of Las Vegas, Nevada. They're at Hancock Air Base in Syracuse, New York. They're at Whiteman Air Base in Missouri. They're actually now Beale Air Force Base, California. We now have drones and drone operations that are going from virtually every Air Force base that we now have in the United States. And just a couple of months ago, there was an article in the Honolulu paper saying that at Hickam Air Force Base, that they will now be having some sort of an operational system that will be at Hickam Air Force Base, where drones will be controlled, some drones somewhere. And the article didn't say where the drones would actually be that are being flown by people that are sitting in Hawaii. The people that are operating these drones now are numbering more than, or we're training now, more drone operators than we are fixed-wing pilots for our U.S. Air Force. That's how big the drone program is now getting in our U.S. military. It's the growth industry. It's the latest, greatest weapon system, the greatest toy, you could almost say. I mean, that's kind of an offhanded way of describing a very lethal weapon system. And it really shouldn't be described that way. But when you really look at how it's operated, it's almost like a game. You know, the people that operate these sit in a game room. They sit in a console. They have computer screens, kind of like what you do at home. How many of you all do war games at home? You know, you see these games that are on your computer, and you fire weapons at people from your home screen. You know, the games, how many people can you kill? Well, this is tragically a real-life version of this, where every day in many U.S. military bases in the United States, we have men and women who are operating these drones, who are firing these drones in Afghanistan. And for the CIA, they're firing them in Pakistan. And then in Somalia and in Yemen, it may be a combination. There may be CIA drones, there may be U.S. military drones that are being operated in Somalia and Yemen. There are over 500 companies in the United States that are getting involved in the biggest, newest weapon system that the U.S. government has. 500 companies that are building drones and drone parts. And the drones will be anywhere from the size that you saw the Predator drone to a much larger drone called a Global Hawk that has a wingspan almost twice as big as what the Predator has. And it can stay aloft for like days and days and days at a time. It's a surveillance vehicle. It's not weaponized. These drones are being made in large numbers, and they're becoming part of the U.S. weapon systems that we sell. You know, President Obama just right before the election said that he wants to make sure that our weapons industry continues to export, and that he hopes that we'll be able to export another 30% higher than what we did last year. That's the legacy of what the United States is doing around the world. We're exporting arms. We are the largest weapons exporter in the world. And drones are now part of this. Drones are now part of it. The United States just sold $1 billion worth of drones to NATO countries. We're not the only country that does this. Israel is the second largest maker of drones and seller of drones. And they just sold $100 million worth of drones to Russia. What do you think the Russians are going to do with these drones? A lot of which are weaponized. What are these drones, the weaponized drones, being used for? Yeah, Chechnya and the Caucasus. To go in areas, to Chechnya and the Caucasus areas where there are groups of people that are challenging Russian sovereignty over their areas. These are very easy weapon systems for us in Afghanistan, Pakistan, Yemen, and Somalia, and the rest of the world sees them too. And those groups that want to have the ability to operate without having their own military in danger, so to speak, and yet they want to be able to fire from afar, these weapons are saying, oh, the United States does that. Look what they're getting away with. And so we want to do the same thing. Other places in the world where these have been used, the United States has used drones in the country of the Philippines. 3 years ago, in cooperation with the Philippine military, the United States, the Philippine government, the U.S. Sent some Predator and Reaper drones into the Philippines, and they killed 15 people that the Philippine government wanted killed. Pakistan are all these between 2,600 and 3,200 people. They're not all civilians. According to our list right here, Pakistan says that, let's see, the number of civilians reported killed between 473 and 889. Okay, that leaves, 2,200 people that they're categorizing as militants. Now, what would a militant be?
Well, from the government, is way in the age of 14, right?
Yeah, there we go. The comment was a militant would be someone that the government doesn't like what they're either saying about the government or what they're doing in opposition to the government. And in Pakistan, the United States now says that there are certain categories of people that are immediately suspicious to us, that they could be harmful for, States interest, but not, now let's see, United States interest in Pakistan or in Afghanistan? Well, they say that these people could go across the border from Pakistan into Afghanistan, and therefore they could then there in Afghanistan be harmful to U.S. military that are the, how do you characterize who we are there? Are we invaders? Are we occupiers? Are we the benevolent people? I mean, it really does depend on your point of view. And if you're an Afghan with the history of Afghanistan of sending out virtually every foreign invader that's ever come in, that there may be some people who say, we don't want you there. In fact, there are lots of people in Afghanistan who are saying that. I just came back from Afghanistan in December after another visit there. And while there are a lot of people who say we're glad the U.S. is there, there are plenty of people who are saying, no, we don't want you there. We need to get out of here. There are plenty of people in Pakistan who are challenging the Pakistani government, and who the Pakistani government would just as soon see out of the way. And so the United States is actually doing the dirty work, so to speak, for the Pakistani government, and using these drones to kill certain categories of people. One of the categories is if you're a male that is old enough to grow facial hair and to wear a turban, then you become a target. You can become what's called one of the signature targets of the United States. That the signature of the target is that it's a male, old enough to grow facial hair and have a turban. Now that is a huge amount of the population of the tribal areas of Pakistan. So virtually any of these guys can be considered to be targets of the United States, and particularly if they happen to be riding a motorcycle or be in a vehicle that's driving in a place where the United States military, the CIA says, there shouldn't be these type of people there. So we have ended up killing a lot of Pakistanis, and a lot of Pakistanis whose families say they had nothing at all to do with any sort of actions against either the Pakistani government or the American government. And as one could imagine, the numbers of people in Pakistan who are outraged by the deaths of their fellow Pakistani citizens is high. In fact, the numbers are about 95%. In the polls that are being taken now, 95% of the people of Pakistan are furious with the United States with these drone programs. I was in Pakistan myself in early October of this year. 32 of us from the United States went to Pakistan on the issue of drones. We wanted to meet with families of that had people in their family that had been killed by these drones. We wanted to hear ourselves what they had to say, and we talked to probably 50 people whose family members had been killed. The majority of them, a great majority, said nope, nothing. They had nothing at all to do with any sort of militant activities. Tim was, I don't think, is this on? Well, I'll tell you, he was saying that you may be having trouble hearing in the back. If you'll please just move down forward. I'm not going to just yell to the back, but there are plenty of seats down there, so. Okay, well, I'm just going to wander around. Thanks. But if anybody's having trouble hearing, please just move on down, okay? Now, the air conditioner's on. I think we want to have that on. also we were mentioning President Obama has this Tuesday afternoon, Tuesday list of people that he is going to consign to death by drone. You know, until the Carter administration, let's see, yeah, since '76, I guess it was the, was that the Ford administration?
Yes.
Ford. No, the Ford, President Ford. It's illegal to assassinate people. You know, because during the United States had, and CIA had been assassinating a lot of people during the Vietnam War and earlier. And finally it got so bad that finally the U.S. government said we can't assassinate any more people, except now we're doing that. And we are even assassinating American citizens. President Obama has authorized the assassination of, well, actually, he authorized the assassination of 2 American citizens, but 3 ended up being killed. And they're all 3 from Yemen. 3 Americans that were in Yemen. One of them was what's called a radical cleric. A guy who grew up in New Mexico. His father still lives in New Mexico. He was upset. Anwar al-Awlaki. He was very upset with U.S. policies. He was upset with the invasion and occupation of Iraq and of Afghanistan. And he went to Yemen, which was the home country of his father, and decided to start calling for jihad against the United States. And the United States government decided that was all that was needed, and that's a lot. But that was the decision of the President of the United States that he should be killed for calling for jihad against the United States. And let's see, did anyone hear his calls for jihad? Well, actually, there were a few, or at least our government says there were a few. They attribute the Major Hassan, the U.S. Army major who killed, what was it, 30 people in Fort Hood, Texas, that he had listened to al-Awlaki. So the United States started targeting al-Awlaki. They missed him twice. His father, who was still in New Mexico, said, "Now wait a minute. If you've got some evidence that my son has committed a crime against the United States, don't you kind of need to take him to court? Don't you need to have the judicial arm of our government look at the evidence that you have and see if that comports to what is a crime, and let a jury decide if he's guilty, and then they declare the punishment?" Well, while a court case was filed in federal court exactly like that, the father of al-Awlaki and the Center for Constitutional Rights in New York City, who said, yeah, we should not be having these targeted killings. And so they put in a federal court case, and before the case was even heard, the United States struck again. And this time they were successful. And the United States of America, on the orders of the President of the United States, executed extrajudicially an American citizen, Anwar al-Awlaki, and also a second young man, a journalist, an American journalist, who was with al-Awlaki at the time, Salman Khan. And in Yemen at the time was al-Awlaki's son, 16 years old. And 2 weeks later, the United States of America assassinated the son, the 16-year-old son of al-Awlaki. So these are some of the reasons why I feel that we should really challenge what our government's doing. Challenge what it's doing right now, because we're assassinating people by name. Our president is doing that. We're assassinating American citizens by name. We are, as we kill people in the countries of Afghanistan, Pakistan, Yemen, and Somalia, not only do we kill the target of the decision that, well, not only do we kill the person who's on the list, but we now have a program where we go after others who come to the aid and rescue of anyone who's been targeted, rightly or wrongly, by the United States. And it's called the TAP program. That as one missile goes in to a building or to a car, blows it up, then people in the community who come to see what's happened, to see that so-and-so's house has just been blown up, oh my goodness, what's happening? And there aren't any medical services there, there aren't ambulance systems, there aren't things like that. If things happen, if there are calamities in a village, if there's an earthquake, if whatever it is, and people need help, everybody helps. So people go over to try to dig out to see who's in, is anyone still alive. And it is the policy now of the United States that we can follow up with a second missile into that car, into the area, with the people there, or into that house. And not only do we do that, we, the United States of America, target funeral processions. As the person who's been now killed, and I guess our government says, well, we got him, and now they're taking him to rest, and anybody that comes in this funeral procession must be part of the network, must be part of the group around that person, and must have the same beliefs that we think he had.
Plus, we gotta get his body.
Then we go ahead and we send another missile into that funeral procession. So there are lots of reasons why Pakistanis are furious. There are lots of reasons why Afghans are furious, where the United States mistakenly sent a missile into a wedding party, sent a missile into a truck that had stalled in a ravine, a truck that was a gas tanker, and it would stall there, and people from the surrounding area saw the truck there and thought, oh, well, it's only going to Americans. It's stuck there, let's go get the gas. And they were siphoning off the gas, and a whole group of them had gathered to get the gas, free gas for us. And the United States targeted that group of people that were around the U.S. tanker and blew them up. So, this year, or actually last year, in 2012, there were more American service members who were killed by what they call green on blue, where Afghans who we are training in either the national police or the national military have turned their weapons on our soldiers who are training them. And there have been more Americans killed in that manner than have been killed in actual combat operations in Afghanistan. And you wonder, why did those Afghans who we are training, who supposedly have been vetted, why did they turn their weapons on our own soldiers, the people that they knew? Well, I would argue that a lot of the people that are recruited for the Afghan military and the Afghan police come from the tribal areas, from the areas along the Pakistan border, the Pashtun areas. They know lots of people who were killed in these drone strikes, and they're furious about it. So you can say that these drones are not only killing people in other countries, but they're actually the cause of the deaths, in my opinion, of a lot of U.S. military. If you think of in the United States, are these weapons perhaps endangering us as American citizens? No. Well, we have operational bases. We have these control centers that are now known throughout the world. At Creech Air Force Base, Nevada, that's where the first drones were flown from. We know Beale Air Force, Whiteman, Syracuse, New York. These are all places you think people that want to stop these programs might someday try to go after these bases. Remember in New York City about a year and a half ago, only because of the vigilance of a hot dog salesman in Times Square, a hot dog salesman who saw a car that was parked in Times Square. And it stayed parked there, and nobody was moving it. And the hot dog guy who's been at that corner for years went up to a police officer and said, I think you ought to go check out that car. It's been there a long time. And I just don't feel right about it. And the police went over and started looking in it, and sure enough, there were explosives enough that if they had gone off, it would have blown up a good part of Times Square. And they were put there by a Pakistani American who lived in the area, that lives in the area, who said to the police as they were interrogating him that that drone program, that American drone program, is killing Pakistanis and have nothing at all to do with the war on terror. If you think about our own other areas of our own government that have suffered losses and had people killed because of drones, how many of you all have seen the latest movie about all that area of the world, Zero Dark Thirty? Have you seen that one yet? Well, it's an interesting one. And one of the scenes in it is of a CIA base in Afghanistan, and where the senior leadership of the Al-Qaeda Watch group for the United States of America, 8 of the most senior Al-Qaeda watchers had gone to that base. Some of them had flown from Pakistan, some had flown in from the U.S. They'd gone to this base in Afghanistan because a key source, a Jordanian doctor who had supposedly infiltrated into Al-Qaeda, was coming out of the Al-Qaeda group and was coming to talk to them about what he had learned. And they were so excited about it that they brought in all their senior people to this little base in Afghanistan to brief him and find out what was happening. And as his car came in, and he came into the compound and should have been checked, as everybody that comes into these compounds is, the senior CIA people said, no, don't check him, he's one of ours, we don't want to, we want to show him lots of courtesy because he's infiltrated into Al-Qaeda. And as he came up to the group, he exploded himself. He killed himself. He blew himself up, and the senior leadership of the Al-Qaeda Watch cell were killed, 8 of them. And in a letter he left with his wife and Jordan that they found later, one of the reasons that he said he had to do this was because of what the United States was doing in drones. So these things are dangerous on many, many, many different ways. Many ways. And they're a danger, to our whole system of accountability. I want to give out another handout that you'll be hearing a lot about. But in the next couple of weeks, we're going to have some confirmation hearings going on for the new Obama cabinet. And one of the people that's been nominated the person nominated for the CIA, the leadership of the CIA, is a guy named John Brennan. And John Brennan is currently the National Security Advisor for Counterterrorism. And in April of this last year, he became the first administration person to publicly talk about something that everybody in the world had known about for 4 or 5 years, the U.S. drone program, both the military drone program and the CIA program. But for the very, very first time, it was publicly acknowledged, he publicly acknowledged that we do have a drone program. Well, that acknowledgement got quite a bit of notoriety through through a friend of ours. As we've been watching these drones and hearing how many people have been killed and talking to people about talking to families of victims, many of us have decided to take some action. We've been having protests at Air Force bases. We've had people arrested at Creech Air Force Base and Syracuse Air Force Base for challenging the drone program. I was arrested in Syracuse in April of 2011. We had people arrested just this last April in Whiteman Air Force Base, Missouri. We now have 2 people that are sitting in federal penitentiaries now arbitrary line, and they're now in jail for 4 months and 6 months. And what they wanted to do was to be able to present a letter to the base commander to say, we really think you ought to rethink these drones. You know, granted, it's not the decision of the base commander, it's the President of the United States and the senior leadership. But you go to where the drones are, or the drone operators are, in order to try to get more publicity about what's going on. So people in these areas of the country will know that there are people in their communities that are firing these missiles from right there in their community, that they are a part, their community is a part of the killings that are going on in Afghanistan and Pakistan, Yemen and Somalia. Well, one of the opportunities we had to bring this to the attention, to really protest, not only in front of the White House, but in other places, to get more attention on this, was when John Brennan made his address about the drones. And he did this at the Woodrow Wilson Foreign Policy Institute in Washington. We weren't able to get the sound on this, but I'll kind of describe to you what's happening. Okay, here's John Brennan starting to talk about the drone program. He didn't.
You can turn the volume up, it'll come through.
I'm sorry?
Can hear something.
What we are doing with our drone strikes in Pakistan and in Yemen and Somalia, I speak out on behalf of those innocent victims. They deserve an apology from you, Mr. Brennan. Yeah. Well, how many people are you willing to sacrifice? Why are you lying to the American people and not saying how many innocents have been killed?
Thank you, Mayor, for expressing your views. There will be time for questions and answers after the presentation.
Congresswoman Jane
Yeah,
Carter.
of Pakistan, who was killed because he wanted to document the drone strikes. I speak out on behalf of Abdul Rahman al-Awaki, 16-year-old, born in Denver, killed in Yemen, just because his father was someone with no life. I speak out on behalf of the Constitution, on behalf of the rule of law. I love the rule of law. I love my country. You're making us less safe by killing so many people around the world. Save our...
Yay,
And that was Medina Benjamin, one of the co-founders of Code Pink Women for Peace, one of the co-founders of Global Exchange, a great organization that takes people all over the world to crisis areas. And Medina is also, she's the author of one of the new books about drones called Drone Warfare. It's a very, very good book that I would encourage you all to consider getting. You can either read it in hard copy or by Kindle. But this was, what you saw was a person of conscience saying to someone in our government that you really need to think about what's going on. You need to stop your actions, not just think about it. She's not the only one. In fact, could we have the lights back on for a moment? What she was talking to John Brennan about, the CIA drone program, particularly in Pakistan, but it's not just Medina Benjamin that now that is calling John Brennan's hand and essentially the president's hand on these drones. This last thing that we handed out is actually the attachment to a two-page letter that Senator Wyden of Oregon has now sent to John Brennan. And Senator Wyden has said, we've been asking you guys questions about this drone program for several years now. And so far you've given us a big fat nothing. You haven't even responded to our questions. You haven't given us anything. And he says, these are things I'm going to be asking you in your confirmation hearing. And if the administration is not forthcoming on information about this drone program, and it doesn't mean that it's going to be information that you and I are going to get initially. It'll probably have to be done in a closed session of classified information. But Senator Wyden is saying, if you don't start answering some of these questions, I'm not going to confirm you as the head of the CIA. And let's just look at the questions. I mean, they're pretty basic. How much evidence does the president need to determine that a particular American can be lawfully killed? Does the president have to provide individual Americans with the opportunity to surrender before killing them? Does his obligation change if the president's determination that a particular American is a valid target has not been publicly announced or publicly reported? Senior officials have stated that the use of lethal force is permitted in situations where capture is not feasible. What is the standard? What standard is used to determine whether it's feasible to capture an American? Is the legal basis for the intelligence community's lethal counterterrorism operations the 2001 Congressional Authority for the Use of Military Force, which is essentially what Afghanistan, the war in Afghanistan, was based on? Or is it just that he's the President of the United States, he's the head of our military, he can do anything he wants to? Are there any geographic limitations on the intelligence community's authority to use lethal force against Americans? Do intelligence agencies have the authority to carry out lethal operations inside the United States? So these are the questions that we should be hearing in this confirmation hearing that should be coming up within the next month for John Brennan. And with that, let's take a poll. How many of you all think that John Brennan's going to answer any of these questions? Oops. Well, I kind of agree with you. And yet, aren't these kind of simple questions? I mean, they're just basic questions that we thought we could ask about any weapon system that we have. And yet, for the last years, the Obama administration has steadfastly refused to answer the questions that Congress has been giving to them. So what do we do? What do we as Americans do about this? And we're the citizens. It should be policies that reflect what we the citizens think are right for our country. The ethical and moral foundations of our country are really kind of at stake with programs like this. Well, one could say, well, we can write letters to our new congressional delegation. 3 out of 4 are in new positions at least. Colleen Hanabusa is still in her same position, but Mazie Hirono is now a senator. We have Brian Schatz a senator. We have Tulsi Gabbard now as a new congresswoman. So we have a new congressional delegation, so to speak. So we can get in touch with them, and we ought to. And we ought to definitely, if you're concerned about drones, we definitely would like for you to get in touch with Congresswoman Colleen Hanabusa, because she is a part of the drone caucus of the United States Congress. There are 58 congressmen and women that are sitting in the drone caucus that are pro-drones. And I would hope that you would send her an email, write her a letter. The Peace Action Group in Maui is using some of their peace cards to write a note on the back of it to all their congressional delegation. I'm against the targeted killings authorized by President Obama and carried out by the CIA drones in Pakistan. These attacks are immoral, highly unpopular, foment anti-American sentiment, and create more terrorists. Although this tactic may have some short-term gains, it will not win the hearts and minds of the people of Pakistan, and on and on and on. So I hope that if you're concerned about the use of drones, you too will get in touch with your congressional delegation about this. What else can you do? Well, Jim is talking about on Saturday going up to Kalakaloa, the training area, the area that's 5 times bigger than Ho'olavi, as you pointed out earlier today. A huge area here on your island that is used for military training exercises, and that now has a drone base. There are drones right here on the Big Island, and that are used in training programs. So if you would like to go up to stand to say that you are concerned about the drone program, we would love to have you come with us on Saturday. And you'll be joining people really around the country, because in the next 3 weeks, we'll be having demonstrations in front of the CIA on killer drones. We'll be having a drones walk from Baltimore, Maryland to Washington, D.C., January 17th through the 20th, and this is part of the lead up to the inauguration. At Beale Air Force Base, January 28th, there will be a potluck at an encampment at Beale Air Force Base by the folks who have from the Bay Area that have been challenging Beale. Madison, Wisconsin, at Camp Douglas, Wisconsin. They'll be going up there. They go up the last Tuesday of every month. The monthly Death Walk in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania is going to be about drones this next week. And on February 5th, at Hancock Air Force Base in Syracuse, New York, the first Tuesday of every month, will be a demonstration. On Inauguration Day, there will be a drone march in Washington, D.C. So there are people all over our country who are getting out on the streets, who are talking to others about these drones, who are trying to create actions where local newspapers will take pictures of people in front of a military installation or a place where drones are being operated from, in order to get the publicity in your own media, so that your fellow citizens will hopefully start asking some questions about what's happening on these military bases concerning drones. And it's not only the military that we have to be concerned about in drones, it's us as civilians too. You know, the U.S. Congress authorized the FAA to open up enough airspace in the United States so that they can integrate 30,000 drones into commercial airspace by the year 2016. So there are now 6 areas that are being designated for practice areas where drones will be flown in with commercial aircraft, and hopefully nothing happens bad. But in Afghanistan, we have had U.S. military drones that have run into U.S. military aircraft. We have had U.S. military drones that have crashed. Let's see, one of them crashed in Iran. Remember when that happened? The most secret of all of U.S. drones, one of them crashed in Iran, and the Iranians are probably reverse engineering that one. One of the CIA's drones crashed outside of Patuxent, Maryland, at a training area there. So we as civilians, we're going to be affected by large drones that are flying in commercial airspace in the next 3 years. So if you're concerned about that,
What are they saying they're doing that for?
well, the reason that they want to be able to integrate up to 30,000 drones into commercial airspace is because the drone lobby is very big. The drone industry wants to be able to sell lots of drones. And they're already starting a big program to sell them to law enforcement. Law enforcement agencies are selling them, are buying them. The other agencies of the U.S. government, for example, Immigration and Customs, have drones that 3 of them right now are on the southern border of the United States and the Mexican border. One is on the Canadian border. The Border and Customs want to get, I think it's 10 more drones. So far, they're not weaponized. They're surveillance drones. So this is big industry now. The drones are the next generation of aircraft that big military industrial corporations are seeing the handwriting on the wall. The U.S. government is going to be using lots of these, and they want to sell them, and they want to be able to integrate them into commercial airspace. So that's the reason that the FAA has been ordered by the Congress to open up this airspace. So there are a lot of reasons we should be concerned about these particularly weaponized drones. The other part of it is just surveillance drones, where, as we've seen over the last 10 years, the invasion by the U.S. government into our daily lives, into the watching, seeing what we are doing in so many different ways. And of course, some people always say, well, if you're doing something wrong, you ought to be caught, and those will help you catch. But that really wasn't the foundation on which our country was built, that the government has the right to just keep sneaking and peeking into every aspect of our life. And if we don't push back on that now, we can see where it's gone in 10 years. And if we don't push back now, we are definitely, Big Brother will be sitting right in the seat next to us all the time. So with that, why don't I end my part of the presentation and then ask for your comments and your questions. Thank you very much.
So that was wonderful, Ann. Thank you so much. So I'll just direct questions to Ann and field them, so you shouldn't have to worry about that. So I know that many of you probably have some really great questions. Okay.
Good evening, Colonel. Thank you for coming. My name is Teddy. Until recently, I was still on active duty for 14 years. I worked for the NSA and personally involved in a lot of things that you're talking about.
Oh, wow.
And I appreciate you coming out. I appreciate you coming out and talking to us. One of the things I wanted to ask about was it has to do with legal precedent. It's something that troubled me while I was still on active duty with the killing of Anwar al-Awlaki. As you know, he was a U.S. citizen, and one of the things that troubled me was that he functioned much as we have the U.S. chaplain corps does within the United States military, in the sense that he was a non-combatant who provided moral aid and support to combat troops of a different ideology and weren't opposed to us, but he was not actually a clear and present threat to the United States, which is part of the legal precedent for military action. My question is why is there not enough agitation towards by civil liberty groups, ACLU or others, towards seeing where this moves us as a country towards legal jurisprudence? If you can target somebody for something as I don't mean to be too overwhelming, but a thought crime, he had a bad idea and he put it out there. What does that mean for us and our society? Why aren't our civil watchdog groups being more assertive in trying to combat that? Because a thought crime is something that can happen well within the United States borders, and if they can say we have the ability to do extrajudicial killings because we don't feel like being inconvenienced, to go after something because we don't like their ideology, where does the spectrum slide in the next 10 to 15 years, and why aren't enough people advocating for this? Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. That's an excellent comment and question. And I totally agree with you. I mean, these are essentially thought crimes. These are speech crimes. And we have a whole history of jurisprudence on speech, on what constitutes hate speech, threat speech, whatever. But we've seen that deteriorate, too. That indeed, intimidation and entrapment is something that's going on big time here in the United States, where a lot of people who are now going before the courts have not done one action against the United States, but have been entrapped by FBI informants who, in order to get paid, need to entrap somebody. And if you're kind of not thinking right, if you're not, well, there's just so many things that have happened where no one has actually done a concrete action for it. What are the civil rights groups doing about this? Well, the al-Awlaki family was the Center for Constitutional Rights, which is a big human rights group out of New York City that's worked a lot with the detainees and prisoners in Guantanamo and other groups of people. They actually were the ones that, in a way, I thought that what you were talking about was something that was taken from their brief that they turned into report about why this man, al-Awlaki, should not be targeted. That if they wanted to capture him, bring him before the court, that's one thing. But don't kill him outright. ACLU has filed numerous cases against the United States government for information about what is going on and about specific cases. All of those cases have essentially been thrown out of courts by the federal court. And the last one that did was just 2 weeks ago, where the judge, this is well worth reading because the judge said, I cannot rule because my hands are tied. The government has tied my hands because of classified information to the extent that I cannot even tell you why my hands are tied. And this is almost like a circus. That's what a federal judge wrote about how when she was asked to rule on the question of the ACLU and other groups getting information out of the government about the drone program. So part of it is that unless you're really attuned to this, you don't see the articles that are coming out about it. They're not on the front page of the newspaper, that's for sure. But there's a lot of writing that goes on behind. Common Dreams, Truth Out, Wars of Crime,
Empty Wheel.
Democracy Now.
Empty Wheel's a good one too. Marcy Wheeler, FTL, Fire Dog Lake.
So all of these types of online news media will carry things about it, but you really have to dig for it. There's a website called No Drones, that will have a lot of the materials in it. But it is a great concern to civil rights groups about what's going on. And anything you can do to support it. There have been quite a few studies that have been done on drones. One of the latest ones was by Stanford University Law School. They have an excellent analysis of what's going on, particularly on the drone strikes in Pakistan.
I appreciate you answering my question. Just as an addendum, 2010, 2011, I was personally off the coast of Somalia, the Horn of Africa, in the Gulf of Aden, where we were flying Harriers and CH-60s into Somalia and Yemen for targets. So it's not just drones, which is my point. These kind of combat operations continue with multiple vectors of aircraft, and they only show up on page C26 of the newspaper for one day and they're gone. So drones are getting a lot of press, but not the only way these kinds of missions are happening.
Thank you.
As an addition.
Obama is committing them to Mali too. He's already said that yes, he is going to provide for Mali.
Let me just, before we go on to this one, in the drones that many of them go into Yemen and Somalia go out of a military base that we have now in Djibouti. Yes, and then another base that we have now is out in the Seychelles, in the Indian Ocean. And the United States now has a drone base in Australia.
I thought the Aussies.
Actually, we don't have any drones that are there yet, but the base is already being built, and we've already deployed 2,000 Marines to Australia. Yes,
I guess maybe we're trying to give a new meaning to the term kangaroo court. But Bradley Manning, of course, is a symbol of what could be possible with understanding what we're doing. We wouldn't know many of the things that have been done without his heroic efforts, or that he's been alleged to have done. The effort now is for the government to slam the door shut on that, and our press is complicit in this. My question is, how can we fight that? It's the press. It's our information services that are putting out the propaganda that's giving our populace, making our populace quiet about all of these operations. And now in South America, I mean, we took over Honduras, we took over Paraguay. I mean, our CIA is just out of control as far as the U.S. ethic is concerned. We no longer have an ethic. I think that was the point we were trying to make. We got to bring that ethic back.
well, you mentioned Bradley Manning. His court-martial has now been moved from February into June. His lawyer, David Coombs, has been doing quite a remarkable job, in my opinion, of in these pre-trial hearings that have been going on for the last year, of trying to get as much information out of the government as possible before the court martial takes place. If you would like to assist in giving Bradley Manning the best opportunity possible for all of the information to come out for his court martial, contributions are still needed, and the Bradley Manning support group would be very appreciative of any help you can get. And you mentioned that we wouldn't know a lot of things about what goes on, what our government has been involved in without WikiLeaks. I travel around the world a lot, and I speak in a lot of different countries, and it is amazing. If you think what we found out about what our government was doing, and then what citizens of other countries found out about what their country was doing with the United States, is really remarkable. And in most countries, they have a much better view, a much wider view of what was going on because their newspapers published it. El País in Madrid, Spain, published for 30 days an entire edition on just what WikiLeaks had provided about the Spanish government and the U.S. government. They had 20 reporters down in the basement of their newspaper that just kept going through the thousands and thousands and thousands of cables that had been released through the WikiLeaks. Here we got maybe 2 days of it, and then if you know how to get to them online, and if you yourself want to go through the indexes, it's amazing what you can find out in there. It's really amazing. Julian Assange, of course, is still in the Ecuadorian embassy in London. I will be seeing him next week. Definitely by Skype, or maybe in person. I'll be going to London next week for a whistleblowers conference, so to speak. We're giving an award to a person, a CIA person, who is now retired. He wrote the National Intelligence Estimate in 2007 on the nuclear program in Iran.
Fingar?
Remember, in 2007, George Bush was just, the drones were beating for war or attack on Iran. And then here came out this National Intelligence Estimate that said that there is no evidence that the Iranian government has a nuclear weapons program. And that just pulled the rug out from under George Bush. And he writes in his memoir that he couldn't believe it, that here, how could this analyst, the head of the team, how could they have put that in there? And yet, he did. And I can't even remember his name.
Fingar.
Fingar, yes, that's right. Thomas Fingar, thank you. So we're several of us, Ray McGovern, myself, Pauline Rowley, an FBI whistleblower, Catherine Gunn from the UK government, Craig Murray, a former ambassador, UK ambassador to Uzbekistan, who exposed to U.S. torture. It was legally done by the Uzbeks. Thomas Drake, the NSA analyst. We're all going over to London to be there, and then Julian will be Skyped into Oxford University, to the Oxford Union, where the presentation will take place, and then the following night, Ray McGovern and Craig Murray will do one of the Oxford Union debates. And so it should be quite a time, and we're hoping that we might be able to get into the Ecuadorian embassy in person to give our best to Julian, who should not be, in my opinion, he shouldn't be. He's already offered to talk to the Swedish government about the sexual assault allegations against him, just that he won't do it in Sweden because he thinks he's going to get rendered to the United States. Okay, that's a long answer to that question.
I think Daniel had his hand up for a while, yeah?
A couple of things that part of it you mentioned, and I've been following a little bit on this. This entrapment thing is really now becoming the standard procedure because a
of all the high-profile things that the press talks about, all these so-called local domestic terrorism cases, the majority, vast majority, were entrapment. These were young Muslim men who didn't know what they were doing. They didn't have the means, or even maybe some motive, but mainly they were just trying to. The FBI provided everything. They provided the weapons, they provided the money, they even gave them all the plans. Oh, go do this, go do that. The majority of the spouses were like that, but the press only reports that, oh, they got convicted because, so this is becoming a signature thing of the FBI, number one.
And the plea bargain, that it is either you plea bargain with us and we'll put you in for 15 years, or we're going to take you to trial and you'll never see the light of day again. So that's kind of the way that these guys are finally going. If I ever want to get out of here, I've got a plea bargain or something.
Christine?
Okay, I hope everybody listening to this is too. So I'm really interested in you as a person, and I just kind of wonder if you wouldn't mind terribly sharing with us a little bit about your life. Like, how many hours a day do you spend reading and communicating? Because it seems like you have a lot of information, it's very current, and I'm just curious myself, how much of your own personal time you devote to, having information so that when you do talks like this, it's just all there.
Well, it's, like anything that any of us are interested in, and you start reading as much as you can about it, and so this is kind of my I wouldn't say it's my job, because that, job, that, but I don't work for the government anymore. I don't work for anyone else. I have a military retirement. I have a State Department retirement that was given because of a fine person in the State Department. When she heard that I was resigning from the State Department, she looked up my personnel records and called me all the way to Mongolia and said, well, you're resigning, but you have enough time for you paid into the pension program, and if you want your money, you just put retirement. So it is actually the government's money that I've earned that is providing me with the luxury to spend full time doing these types of things, of learning about drones, of traveling around it, of the variety of things that we work on, whether it's trying to stop the war in Afghanistan, going to Afghanistan, going to Pakistan, working on issues about the military, PTSD, suicide, sexual assault in the military. And there's a wide range of things that I'm interested in, and I do give talks on.
Free Gaza.
The Middle East, Gaza, was on the Gaza flotilla in 2010 and got shot up by the Israelis, and the part of the U.S. spoke to Gaza and the second flotilla. I've been in Gaza 5 times since the 2009 attack. I was just there in December of this year again, after the latest attack by the Israelis on Gaza. So there's a lot of things, but that's kind of what I do all the time, is just do a lot of reading and talking and traveling and
This gentleman. This gentleman.
Well, what I wanted to ask you too, if you could just speak a little bit about your experience on the flotilla from Gaza, because there seems to be a lot of accusations on both sides about what happened on that. I know 9 or 10 people were killed on the first one. A lot of people say they were point blank murdered. Were you witness to that?
I was on the 2010 flotilla. There were 6 ships in the flotilla. The one on which 9 people were killed, including American citizens, and 15 were wounded, was the Mardi Marmara. I spent 3 days on the Mardi Marmara, and then the day that we were trying to go toward Gaza, we were actually circling, waiting for all the boats to catch up with us. And then when they finally arrived, one of the boats was bringing members of the European Parliament on board, and they wanted to go onto the Mardi Marmara because there were parliamentarians from other countries that were on that boat, so they wanted to be on that one. So 5 of us got off that boat, went on to a smaller boat. I witnessed the initial attack of the Israelis by boat and by helicopter, but we were offset about 100 yards off the port stern saw helicopters, I saw flashbangs and pings that were going up from the smaller Israeli boats. And then at a certain point, the captains of all the ships started talking to each other, and our captain was told, why don't you take off and see if you can kind of outrun, bring some of those Israeli small boats with you to get them off the Mardi Gras, because they were shooting up a lot of the Mardi Gras at that point.
Was there any provocation for these others to begin shooting as well?
No. First, there were no weapons that were on board the Mardi Gras. Nobody was shooting from the Mardi Gras at the Israeli soldiers. The soldiers were shooting first at the ship and then sniping from the helicopters and killing people on the top deck of the Mardi Gras. 5 of the 9 people that were killed were shot at point blank range. Ferdinand Duan, the American, 19-year-old American fellow, had 5 bullets in his body, 2 of them straight to his head. Anyway, so there were, and on our boat, nobody was shot with lethal ammunition, but with paintballs, which can be lethal. I mean, they can be. If they hit you right in the right spot. We had one woman that was hit in her, like right in the bridge of her nose. If it had been up a little bit more, it could have cracked her skull. We had people that were tasered, beaten up, but none of us had weapons. We were there certainly to challenge the Israeli naval blockade of Gaza, but we carried no weapons and certainly did not expect to be met with lethal force. Or force of any kind. I mean, they had plenty of ways that they could have turned those ships around if that's what they wanted to do.
International waters, too.
We were in international waters, 70 miles in international waters. I'll just mention that I was at a Turkish court hearing in early November. It's the first time that, well, there have been several investigations by a variety of, the Israelis have done 2 investigations, the Turkish government has done theirs, the UN has done theirs. The United States did not investigate the murder of its American citizen. But there has been a Turkish court indictment against 4 senior Israeli officials for their role in the planning of the attack on the Gaza flotilla. The Israeli government says, well, this is a kangaroo court, but we can't expect any sort of neutral judgment on this. The 4 defendants did not appear at the court hearing, but I and another American citizen flew to the first court hearing and ended up being witnesses where we described what happened, what we saw, and what happened on our boat. There will be another court hearing in February, and at some stage, the Turkish court will make a decision on the evidence that has been presented, whether or not it's sufficient to prove the allegations against the 4. And if it is, then with an indictment or with a judgment against the 4, the Turkish government can then take that to Interpol, and if any of the 4 ever leave Israel, traveling internationally, then one could say that they would be arrested upon leaving or arriving at another country, but whether or not indeed the Israeli pressure, government pressure on these sorts of things would be tremendous, as will the United States pressure. But at least it's a movement of a court hearing on the evidence.
So I know we have Celia and Lee, but maybe this gentleman has a response to this.
I do. It's slightly tangible, but before you boarded the flotilla, were you aware of the history involving USS Liberty and the parallels between the engagement that happened? And as a slight addendum to that, will the story of USS Liberty ever emerge and become more well known?
Well, the USS Liberty was a Navy intelligence ship that in 1967, at the beginning of the 67 war, was attacked by the Israeli military. And 34 American citizens on board that boat were killed and 171 were injured. one of the people that was injured was a guy named Joe Meadows, who was actually one of the U.S. citizens that was on board one of the boats in the flotilla. And Joe and I were the two Americans that went to Israel, or went to Turkey to testify in the court hearings.
And those veterans now who are in their 80s and 90s, they're all dying off, who are on the Liberty, were secretly given medals in the White House, congressional medals, to honor their service, but it's still been kept quiet. And the other thing was that at the time of that attack, the Americans were flying the American flag boldly, and the Israeli planes flew over them for hours before they attacked. And some of the wisdom on it is that they wanted to seize the Golan Heights of Syria. They didn't want the United States to interfere with that, and that's why they tried to sink that ship. They attacked that ship for 6.5 hours. And there was an American fleet hours away who were ordered to stand down and allow that ship to be attacked.
That's right. It was torpedoed.
It was torpedoed and strafed with airplanes.
And there were planes that were sent from that fleet that was hours away. There was one group of planes that was already heading to the rescue, and they were called back by the White House.
By McNamara.
So there's a long history to this that is a sordid history. It's
beyond sordid. It's treason of the highest order. Yes. How is it anything less?
Thank you for doing that.
Now we're sending a bunch of bunker busters to Israel to set up Iran.
Well, the U.S. Annual military allocation to Israel is $3 billion a year. For 10 years, it'll be a total of $30 billion that we're giving just in military aid, plus special concessions on contracts and the whole issue of the Israeli push for military action on Iran is, it's a very dangerous push, and to the extent that President Obama pushed back from it prior to the election is a credit to him. These sanctions that we have on Iran right now are proved as they were for Iraq, for the 10 years that we had sanctions and quarantine around Iraq. I don't know if you saw on CNN today, Hillary and Everett Mann, who both served in the White House and the National Security Council, and are both Middle East specialists, but they've been out of the government for probably about 10 years now, too. They just came back from a trip to Iran, and their assessment was that the sanctions are brutal, but this is not the way that you influence a country and its people to do what you think they ought to be doing. And that we're ending up in the same position as we did with the Iraqis, where people are going to be dying very soon, and these sanctions will not affect the actions of the government.
Well, you remember Madeleine Albright.
Yeah, Madeleine Albright saying, yeah, it was fine that 500,000 Iraqi kids died because of the malnutrition from the lack of food and medicines because of the U.S. Sanction program on Iraq in the 10 years during the Clinton administration.
I think that Celia had a question, and then Lee had a question. You still have a question, and you have a question.
I guess I'd like to know back on the subject of drones, the moral justification by the Obama administration to utilize drones over other kinds of weaponry, as you all discussed here. Now, on a NPR special I heard earlier this year, one of the comments that were made that really puzzled me was that some of the moral justifications that the Obama administration used to utilize drone, weaponry was that it wasn't actual pilots, right, that were, actually being threatened, right, by through death by, in planes, and that in many ways the pilots of the drones were kind of in this kind of sphere where they're in this room and they're not really engaging it. And so in many ways, I think the term that was used, that it was almost like more moral, like it was more ethical in many ways to engage in these drone technologies because the harm of the pilots would be mitigated. And that there would be more precision, even though, of course, there are many problems with that argument but that still there's that moral justification that still comes out of from the Obama administration, right? And so, yeah, I wonder if you can address or comment on that kind of moral justification of the administration to the use of drone weaponry.
Well, I think the administration, whether it would be the Bush administration or the Obama administration, for whatever political policies they're doing, of course want to couch it in the most moral and ethical terms possible. And they will contort whatever it is to fit what they need to do to morally justify what they're doing. And they're dead wrong. They're just plain wrong. And this is... they will continue to try to make sure, or to try to convince you that this is, that it's just plain right, that we have the right to assassinate people, that we have the right to, and by distancing themselves by the fiction of just the pilot, there's no pilot right in the plane, just really doesn't make a bit of sense to me. But I mean, all administrations definitely try to couch what they're doing in the most legal and moral and ethical manner. But
there's something peculiar though about drone weaponry, right? That's much different than the other forms of weapons that we use.
Not really. I mean, when you really look at it, you could argue that F-16 pilots, as they fly by, they drop a 500-pound bomb, they kill 20 people in a building. And we say, well, that's just a part of war. In a way, you could say, well, the drones, that's just the same thing. We just have the pilot farther away. But when you start talking about we're going to assassinate specific people, and we're doing it outside. This is the killer drone program, the assassin program that I'm really talking most about. That we're doing it in countries we haven't declared war, and we have the President of the United States that has a kill list. That these are things that are just unauthorized, illegal, and there's no way in the world that legally or morally you can justify it.
I think, I know that Lee has a question, but I think he's got a quick response to this.
I do. Ma'am, if I can address your question just directly. It actually has more to do with an internal conversation that usually only happens within the military. There's a public face and then there's an internal dialogue. I'm going to use the word real politics to apply to it, but it's economic stewardship. If you accept that there are going to be assassination missions, whether they're flown with a pilot or otherwise, drones are far more economical. And if you notice, the drone escalation campaign coincides with the downturn of the domestic economy. There's a conversation that goes on as far as the procurement process, a certain amount of money that the military needs to allocate to continue to keep contracts going, the new development processes. And they realize that they can much more economically pursue the same missions, immoral or otherwise, with drones than they can do with live personnel. The term that often gets thrown around in the military, at least in numbers, it costs at least $1 million per service member to send them downrange into the combat center. That's everything from tax incentives to logistical support to, just a comprehensive medical service, and that's not even counting annuities or combat tax pay or anything like that. So it's very expensive to send troops downrange. But if you can do fly-by-wire missions, immoral, illegal. I'm not justifying them in the slightest. But there's a certain thought that says, if we get these orders, we're going to follow them. And one of the things that happens is they say that it's good stewardship for us to try to do it with the drawdown in forces, with the drawdown in personnel. You can do it more economically. It's equivocation, absolutely. But it happens internally within the services. This is part of our own internal dialogue. It'll never hit the press. It'll never come out because we like to have maintained this facade of the, American troop triumphing and marching on. But internally, when we get in our cups on board visits, sometimes we talk about these things. And I think that's the answer that I've investigated at this time. I hope it helps.
Okay, Lee, and then
Everyone's, there's this focus with precision and pilotless, and this device can be reused. You can deliver the goods, get out, and come back, deliver bad goods. And one of the ways that hasn't been brought up tonight that the drones also can function is where we consider it expendable. As in, it's quite probable that it was a drone that went into the Pentagon. I mean, I don't know, like a sharply incidental site. It's not an area that the military is going to be in if they're using the drones to do something rude. No one wants to even think about it. Your thoughts on that?
Well, on the issue of 9/11, you mentioned drone there. We definitely, as Americans, I think, need to keep demanding a real investigation of what went on. I mean, the pitiful little congressional investigation was outrageous, and one would think over time that if there was a government conspiracy on this thing, that sooner or later there's going to be a whistleblower. There's going to be somebody that's going to start leaking things because there's so many unanswered questions.
He doesn't get drones first.
so this.
I have a question. It's either for you or Jim. I used to work for this contractor, international contractor, and we built bunkers for nuclear weapons in Hawaii, on Oahu and Kauai. I want to know if they're still stored in Hawaii, nuclear warheads and weapons.
Well, quite honestly, I don't know the answer to the question if we still have nuclear weapons stored here. Jim, you probably have more information than I.
Well, I know that on Oahu, the major nuclear weapons storage depot was the West Lock of Pearl Harbor. Back in White Kelly, that was closed down with urbanization approaching. West Lock. And when you fly into Honolulu Airport, you're sitting on the left-hand side of the plane. You look out at night, the lights of West Lock are all lit up. The double fences, the lights are all there. It doesn't look to me that it's closed down.
I've worked over it, and also on Kauai, is there still nuclear warheads on Kauai?
I was never aware of anything based there. I mean, in the old days, there were Nike missile sites. On this island, and a lot of places, the Nike nuclear weapon sites, South Point, and others.
I'm just curious because I was out of the picture for a while.
But Oahu was the base as far as the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. Well, I haven't been following as closely as I've been over here.
That's more threat to us in Hawaii than the drones. I would think nuclear weapons. And I've also worked on nuclear weapons ammunition harbor on Guam, Arodi Point, the naval ammunition harbor. We built that also. I was wondering if they're still operating.
I don't know if they are or not. I know we just have to do some investigation on it. But because you bring up the issue of nuclear weapons, we should be aware that we have two new nuclear plants that are under construction right now. One in Kansas City, Missouri, and one in Oak Ridge, Tennessee, and then Los Alamos has different parts of it that are being renovated. And this is under the Obama administration. We've had activists that have been arrested up in Bremerton, New York, Bremerton, Washington. Some of them have served up to 1.5 years in jail for going on to the Bremerton Naval Base to challenge nuclear weapons. And then we just had a group that were at Oak Ridge. The average age being about 75 of this group. To show you how good our security is on nuclear facilities, the average age in Bremerton, New York, or Washington was, I think, 78. Ann Montgomery, Blix, Steve Kelly, they remained on the base for, I think it was 8 hours, and it was raining so hard, they got so cold, they finally had to flag down a truck to say, we're tired, we're finished, arrest us, get us out of here. And in Oak Ridge, this last year, there were 3 people that were arrested, and they ended up being in Oak Ridge for, I think it was 7 hours before they were found. The security on our nuclear facilities is unbelievably bad, and but they wanted to testify in Congress to say, we know about the security. If the 3 of us can get in there, anybody can get into these nuclear facilities. But the moral of the story is that the U.S. nuclear program is alive and well and increasing.
There was a question back here. Yes.
It's hard to begin, but I wanted to first start off to say I care about this country. I'm moving to Hawaii. I care about here. I served in the military for 4 years. I've seen a lot in my experiences, and I'm just confused a little bit about some of the ways that you approach the issues. Accountability, absolutely. Stand up, absolutely. The things that you believe in, that's our right, and that's what we are willing to die for wherever we're sent. I want to emphasize, you stated it's the president, it's Congress, we swear to uphold the Constitution, and where we're not upholding the Constitution, that needs to be brought to the attention. Now, maybe some people like to be arrested. I like my freedom. I'm willing to make a point, but I also know how quickly laws can change. And so some of the things that I look at on these questions, I wouldn't look at the question because you're going to ask a question, you're not going to get the answer you want. But how would you write the legislation that ought to be in place to reinforce what we're supposed to already be doing? We already have laws that are conflicting, complex. But what I do take exception to is when you stand in front of active duty military who are doing their doggone best to try to serve this nation honorably and put themselves in harm's way and even perhaps die for this nation. I just see the disconnect of putting yourself between military members. And I would just emphasize the laws can change. Writing congressional leaders, I have been up at the Hill. I have worked up on the Hill. And they don't like discord. They don't like, if you've got a voice and you can educate the awareness of it, there are many questions. Are we going to stop the drones from coming? I think not. But what we can stop is the inappropriate use of the drones in the ways that it's going to cause harm, and having a really set criteria of what are we talking about, and being very specific. Because I'll just tell you, upset and angry people don't bring people together. You're upset and angry about something, I've never seen it work. I don't care if I'm working with tribal nations, I don't care if I'm working with politicians. When you're upset and angry, you're not going to bring people together. When you raise awareness on clear understanding of what are the issues and unshakable facts, not opinions, and then allow people to draw their conclusions based on those facts, then you may achieve the outcomes you seek. And I think that you have a lot, there's a lot here. I'm going to continue to digest it. And I hazard even speaking in front of this group because I might be a minority here. But the last place that I would be protesting, I gave peanut butter and jelly sandwiches to our military, who, oh, by the way, one broke his leg because he got crushed by a vehicle, because day-to-day dangers can kill and maim our military, and they're out in the sun and I will do everything I can to make their days go by as easily as possible, as long as they are serving, because they are put in these complex situations. 1 minute they're in Iraq, I was a commander. We're handing out food, we're helping, giving things to children. The next minute a child is coming forward with a bomb. The next thing they're planting one in the road and killing my drivers. I've seen it, I've been there. I was in the Pentagon when it was hit. I was the person to keep people safe in buildings from terrorist attacks, from DoD buildings. I was writing the guidance on it. They are after us 24/7. They are clever. The internet has helped them. Their threats will look very unassuming. We must stay vigilant in many ways. We need to be vigilant in abuse of the rights because we fight for our freedoms and we want to maintain those. We also have to be vigilant, just like poor Sandy Hook sees with a young child with a weapon that they shouldn't have had access to, killing the most innocent of our citizens. We want to stop that. We want to stop that in other countries. I've been with children in other countries, and their parents have been kidnapped and killed. There's a lot of bad things going on in this world, and we can make a difference. That's the answer. I want to give hope. The people want the same things that we do: go to work, provide for our families, live a joyful life, and be able to do things. And the ones who are discontented, those are things we need to reach out and try to find out what that is. But in Iraq, for example, the average age right now is 18 years old. And that is not from the U.S. military. That is from previous regimes who have killed off all the opposition. And if you think about what they're being educated, we need to be very worried about that. Because they are smart, they're going to get on the internet, they're going to figure things out. But we have a lot of threats out there. I don't know what the answer is. But I do know that if we're upset with how things are being implemented, the top who have talked about, the president, but he is empowered through Congress and the people in this country in order to do what he does. And those things can change. And I've seen them change. So I applaud your efforts. I know General Foote. I've been to Mongolia, been to Micronesia, been to many of the places. Was at Bragg when you were there. Gave the maps for our military. We would not have had maps. I've had a long career with some incredible people. And I love being in Hawaii, and I can't wait to have more friends.
Well, thank you very much. We welcome you, and I think you'll find the group that is here and many, many other people will be very appreciative of what you've done, and will want to talk more with you, and I certainly want to talk more with you about all of these things. What I will say is that I think it is, there is a wide range of how we get the attention of government and various people in government. And there are lots of people that are working on the inside to try to get some changes going. There are people that are working in the middle, and then there are people that are working a little bit more on the more vocal side, publicly, outside, demonstrations and things like that. And I think probably you and I may, coming from kind of the same background of having been in the military a long period of time, in the government a long period of time. I'll tell you what, it took me a long time before I decided that one of the things that I felt I wanted to personally do was to be a little more on the public side and the vocal side and the protest side. And I can tell you there are very few, if not only one, Army colonel that's been outwitted us. It is not one of the things that, coming from the culture that we come from, that many people do. And nor should they have to. I mean, everybody picks their own way of doing things. But there is this wide range of things that all of us as citizens have the opportunity to be doing. And I think it is, we're all trying to get to the same point, that we do love our country, we want to protect our country, but we want to make sure that it's done in a way that doesn't really cause long-term harm to our country. And that's where I'm kind of speaking out on some of these things. And I think some of these policies that administrations are having are really actually harming our country more than doing it good. And we may not all agree on that, but that's really kind of where I'm coming from. But I do want to talk to you about where you were and what you were doing at WAG and all these other things. But welcome, we're glad you're here.
Yeah. Great. I suppose maybe you must be getting pretty exhausted, so I don't know is there one more question? Everybody, maybe one more question. How's that?
Sure. I've got a chair now. I can answer one.
It's not really a question, but it's, a drone's not gonna suffer post-traumatic stress. The government is not gonna have to pay for the mental health for 40 years for that drone. Maybe eventually the operator, one operator instead of 10,000 guys. You know, any Vietnam vets, a lot of broken people that the government is, the ones that didn't fall through the cracks, they're still paying, and they're gonna be paying until the day they die. Now you've got Desert Storm people, and now you've got the current group of guys. You're talking about lifelong injuries here, and, a lot of them aren't exactly sure what was going on.
Well, and thank you for bringing that up, because it does turn out that there is a psychological and emotional component to being a drone operator. And there are, we first met the chaplains who are at Creech Air Force Base when we were there doing a protest outside the base. And they came out to talk to us. And, over a period of time, we went back several different times, there is a problem with killing people. And, yeah, and whether it's done face-to-face or whether it's done by remote control, so to speak, there are drone operators that are having very difficult times, and they will be awarded PTSD disability, I'm sure. There are already articles that have been written about drone operators as they leave their base from Creech Air Force Base, go home at night to Las Vegas. They've done what they needed to do in Afghanistan or wherever it was. They wake up the next morning, they read the paper, there was a drone strike, and it turned out they didn't kill who they thought they were going to kill. And these types of situations, of course, affect people, and the need for psychological counseling for people that are in the drone business is as important as it is for.
Here's a scary thought. Now you replace them with automation. That's when it gets really scary.
Well, there's now what's called swarming drones, and this is being developed. Another thing to think about is all of our university systems that are part of the UARC, the classified research programs that are run through DARPA, the Defense Research big mega thing that most universities get involved in because it's a lot of research money. And a lot of universities are now doing robotics, and some of them are doing drone work. For example, University of North Dakota, Kansas State University, University of Kansas, and Johns Hopkins University of Baltimore, where they have now developed what's called swarming drones, where you have a computer system that goes into the mother drone that has a mission to it, whatever it may be. And it has with it a little platoon or a squad or whatever it is of other little drones that are part of this mission. And once you put in, now this is according to some of the researchers that we've talked to at Johns Hopkins, that once you put in what the order is, off it goes, and the drones start talking to each other. And they don't need any more humans' involvement. But have you ever seen a computer program that might have gone wrong or something? Let's hope that they have a way that humans can get back into the systems so that it's just not pure computers talking to computers and then running all of our lives that way.
The other thing is taking a bunch of this world that we're living in now with the drones being present and infiltrated into the educational system. And
taken away the consciousness of a human being, and they want to turn it all into this mechanical thing, robots.
I think we definitely need to keep track of that, and we need to keep track of it with our kids and grandkids, and try not to dehumanize this whole issue of violence, and violence through computers that could possibly be transferred into daily life. Taking of a life on a computer by just kicking a point or something, that hopefully it won't be transferred into some sort of actual daily.
That's exactly what I mean. It's making it all a day death thing.
Maybe we should take this time to wrap it up. If people want to continue afterward, but we'll have an opportunity to say thank you.
Thank you.
For such a wonderful.
Oh, I forgot. I always do forget. I do have a book. It's called Dissent, Voices of Conscience. It's about government insiders speaking out. So if anybody wants to get a copy of it, we've got something. Thank you. My publisher would be aghast if I got it. Hey,